we do come here. Greetings to all of you. Welcome to Gunjur Online and our program, which is Dialogue with the Youth. So we are back today also, as always. When we have spare time, we come over and discuss issues, that affects our lives as a people, especially back home, our country, and to see what we can do together. As we always say, this is just like a bantaba where people come around, share ideas, and try to prick each other's conscience so that we can think, the best way forward for our country, for our people generally. That's what this platform is. And once again, it is your program and your host, Ebrima Scattred, Janneh, Dialogue with the Youth. So it's back with a fantastic program today. We are here to discuss about a book written by our own brother, our uncle, our dad, if you want, and I know he will not want me to say this, but he's the pride of Gambia, and we respect him and we appreciate him for his sacrifices, for his straightforwardness and balanced discussions and ideas that he says all over the place. This book is a brilliantly conceived and well written tour de force of dictatorship in the Gambia, a dictatorship morphed in untold human rights violation and aggregation of power to suppress the people of the Gambia. This book is The Dictator is Us, but it's not only the dictator that dictates things in affairs in the country. It is all over the country, all of us, according to Mr. Alagie Saidy-Barrow. I would like to call him Manjiki. Alaji, welcome to our platform, Dialogue with the Youth, so on Gunjur Online TV.
Thank you,
We are
thank you,
grateful, very
thank
grateful, bro, to see your face here once again.
thank you, Ebrima. Thank you. I'm very happy to be with you, and I extend my greetings to all the listeners and everyone that is watching. My regards to the family in Gunjur, especially, and to everyone again that's watching or listening. Again, thank you for having me. I'm honored to be here and to share my take on this book with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, bro. Thank you. And I've read the book, and I bought two books. I think our listeners will buy the book, and I will show them the book, before we go further. This is the book. The Dictator is what is us. This book is a must read for any Gambian. Those who can read, please get this book, and because anything that's coming out of this book is going to go to the victims. These victims are our heroes. They suffered, because of us. They gave us the freedom that we are enjoying today. So what you can do, and you will enjoy this book. It will give you a historical background of your country, because dictatorship lasted for about nearly 22 years, and that's a chunk out of our life as a country. Welcome to this program. Our greetings to our viewers all over the place. And we have Maria Masi who is saying greetings to all of us, and welcome. Alaji, our viewers are welcoming you, and we are very grateful to have you here to discuss about this fantastic book. Alaji, before we go into the book, I think it will be befitted, and we will remain amazed, if we don't talk about Solo Sunday, because he is kind of the gate for the victims. There are many victims in the Gambia, but Solo represent all of them. And finally, we did the ceremony yesterday, and finally he's rest, and he's given a dignified burial. But I think you wrote something on your Facebook platform. That thing made me cry. Because it went on. But the part that I took is it takes some next level shamelessness and wickedness to support, cheer, ignore, and defend the murder of an individual, and then turn around to attend their funeral. You went on and on, but you say, but this is what happened when accountability means demonizing others while canonizing your own. This is what happened when accountability is sacrificed for political expediency. Shamelessness and sword and pretentiousness become our value. Alaji, in essence, the book captures some of these things. The hypocrisy of Gambians and the self-centeredness of Gambians. That they don't care about others. When Solo died, there are people who were clapping for Yaya Jammeh. They're giving him a pad on his back that, Solo don't know what he's saying, and his groups and all that. And this happened not only Solo, but other victims also. And we didn't condemn them. The same people were sitting, mourning the burial of Solo yesterday, under the same canopy, and pretending that nothing happened yesterday. And these are the very people. But not only that, this is a state funeral with our state, head of the state absent yesterday. That tells a lot. Probably what I was thinking, if what Solo stand for or stood for, if that's going to be implemented, probably the president should have taken chance, to come out and show solidarity to us and assure us that what Solo stood for will going to be implemented. But you say, mind you, I say all those who were in APRC supported them or sympathized with them and found themselves at the funeral of Solo Sunday. Alaji, can you please, comment on these points? What do you mean about this? And what this says about our people as a country? Go ahead.
Yes, Ebrima, thank you again. Yes, I think I posted that this morning. I was on a roll from yesterday to today because I was angry. I am angry because I have a personal relationship with Solo Sandeng's family, as I do with many victims. And my relationship with these victims and families precedes the TRRC. This is before I ever came to work with the TRRC. So a lot of times what happens to these victims is personal to me. I take it very personally. And yes, so when I wrote that comment, to see people that cheered, because, remember, Solo was killed by the APRC government. And when they killed him, international media, international organizations asked Gambians to look into what happened, to answer questions. I remember Mama Fatima Singate, who was the justice minister at the time, told the African Commission and African Commission for People and for Human and People's Rights. I don't know if I get the name right, but she basically told them that those people were engaged in an unlawful act and that people were arrested and that they were investigating, meaning the APRC government is investigating. And once they get, once they finish investigations, the Ministry of Justice will brief the commission on what happened. I mean, how wicked can you be that somebody dies in custody and you call it, what she said was the security forces were trying to manage the situation. You don't manage a situation by killing people. That's not management, that's destruction. But for me, to see people like Tombo Njata and the Sidinjais who never cared one bit, not one bit, about the pain that these people were going through. Solo Sandeng's family, what they went through, their journey from when they had to leave Gambia and go into exile. All of them, the mother and the children. Sidinjai never cared about that. Tombo Njata never cared about that. These APRC supporters and those in the APRC government, including all the ministers, they never cared about these things. So to come today or yesterday to sit at the man's funeral is what the Wolof say, Domarela nyodi la jale, buaye fa akana akene sanga kondo. Aliye moment fa, now you want to come sit down, alkana alkalka wasanga konton, and I'll tell leafa. So ndefe omu nafiki yalti, omu jawi yalti, and that's what I was writing. That's what the Facebook post was about this morning.
Yeah, thank you, bro. And the whole issue about the Gambia, sometimes you feel like you want to give up. Well, we refuse to give up. We will keep talking and we will keep fighting. And hopefully we pray for Solo and all the victims. That are not yesterday buried. Brother Alaji, this reminds me of your colleague. Some of them, the December 30th, the people involved in that, their bodies are still there, and Solo's, funeral yesterday will have, remind you of your friend. These are the people face to face. You discuss things with them or you talk to them continuously, and it will have been very, 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 very sad day for you yesterday, to say farewell to Solo, knowing that there are some bodies there still laying in the mortuary in Banjul. And how do you feel? How do you feel? Did you remind you about your
Yeah,
colleagues?
the remains of Njaga and Lamin Sane and Jajanyas were returned to the families a while back. Those
Okay.
individuals were already identified and returned to the families, and they've already been buried. So yeah, they to be honest with you, I mean, I think about them almost daily. But yesterday, thoughts of them never really occupied my mind as such. Yesterday was more Solo Sandeng, and his family, that, like I said, I've grown close to. I have a deep relationship with his family. So yesterday was more about them than any other person. Yes, it was sad. I watched very, very short videos of what happened. I couldn't continue watching, um, because I mean there was nothing really that I was so interested or captivated by that I thought I needed to continue to watch. I felt terrible for the young ones that he left behind, the wife, the children, and Alhamdulillah, it was tough. It was extremely tough. They traveled a very, very, very tough journey, but that is a very, very strong family, with a lot of resilience, and thanks to God, now they are doing okay. It's been tough. It wasn't easy
Mhm.
for them, and yesterday wasn't easy for them either. I mean, Solo
No.
was a loving individual, somebody that, I mean, he was the ultimate family man, and to die and leave your children behind when none of them had even grown enough to be able to provide you any to benefit you. It's sad. So yesterday my thoughts were mostly with his family than the actual function or what was actually going on.
Yeah, definitely understandable. I feel terrible seeing the young family there, who are going to miss their dad. He was a towering giant, a family man. You can see, through the kids, how close he was with his kids. Losing my family, my parents at that tender age when I was 7, it must be difficult, really, and it will continue to be difficult. On a daily basis, these things will not go. The crowd will disperse, but the family solos will. But solos, definitely, history will embalm him in the history of Gambia forever, and we are all going to go one day. But this is one of the ways, that we should all aspired, to struggle, to die for our country, and salute to Solo, and may his soul rest in peace. Once again, our viewers, we are discussing today, with our respected brother, the book that he wrote, The Dictator is Ours by Alagie Barrow. And this book, as I always say, every Gambian that can read should read this book. It is a sweeping and riveting account of the brutality of dictatorship and the double standard, that we can exude from our country. Sometimes, we just brush these things away. We think these are foreigners doing some of these things, but no, the TRRC has excavated a lot of truth, but this book is going to complement that a lot, and you will understand some of the details because I didn't watch everything in the TRRC, but reading this book is just like I've watched every kind of interview at the TRRC. Brother Alaji, you in the book, you said, I'm quoting some of your words anyway. That means your odyssey with the TRL started in August 2018 to January 2020. But you said even though Janneh is the linchpin of the 22 years dictatorship, in your view, it is the Gambian who created dictatorship of Yahya Jammeh and allow it to fester through self-preservation and inertia. How? And is this self-preservation and inertia still existing in the so-called New Gambia? If you can comment on that, please.
Yes, sir. Yes, Yaya Jammeh, when he came with soldiers. When you speak to Edward Singate, they didn't even know what they were supposed to do. Like actually, when they came to State House, they had no idea what they were supposed to do. They called on some Gambians to help them, or to help them navigate the contours of a coup, of taking over. What are you supposed to do? Who are you supposed to call? And so on and so forth. So right there, the AFPRC had to call on Gambians to help them um, basically take over the country. These were not, some of the individuals they called on were not soldiers, were not in the military. These were civilians, Gambian civilians. It was also Gambians that, despite now when you talk to people, they would say that, well, we didn't write these bad laws. But it was a Gambian, at least one person that came out and said he is proud that he wrote these bad laws, was Justice Suleiman Jallo, who was the head of the Constitutional Review Commission. He said he wrote Decree Number 1. Decree Number 1 was the one that actually suspended the 1970 Constitution. So these were Gambians. These were not some foreigners from Mars or from Jupiter. These were Gambians that wrote these terrible, terrible laws that allowed Yahya Jammeh to take over the country. And it was Gambian ministers of justice, Gambian ministers of trade, economics, and what have you, that put together these programs and policies that allowed Yahya Jammeh to continue with his ways and abuse of Gambians. So when I say, for instance, that Yahya Jammeh was the linchpin, yes, for me, he was the head. He was the head honcho. He was the one that was above everything. But it was Gambians underneath him that propped him. It was Gambians that wrote the laws. It was Gambians that were putting plastic bags over other people like Baba Job and other people at Mile 2, putting plastic bags over their head and killing them. These were not people from Senegal or from other countries. These were Gambian brothers and sisters that I sat down with, people that I spoke with at length during the TRRC process. So yes, for me, Yahya Jammeh was the leader, but it was Gambians that allowed him to abuse Gambians. And when I said inertia, what was happening at the time, some of you may have been maybe a little bit young. You may not have known everything that was going on, but it was, a lot of Gambians of age, people my age, and probably 5-10 years under, we all knew that Yahya Jammeh was killing people. We all knew Yahya Jammeh was abusing people. The student demonstration that happened in 2000 or 2000, that was 4 or 5 years after Yahya Jammeh took over power. Gambians heard that. They knew that 16 children were killed. The witch hunt, for instance, in 2009, when they rounded up thousands of Gambian citizens and said these people are witches, and people died from that. The Gambians knew this, but because of self-preservation, because people wanted to self-preserve, meaning for some people it was, I want to be able to go to Gambia for holidays. So because of that, they would not speak out. For other people, it's because Yahya Jammeh gave them a place, a position in government, and all of a sudden, they go silent. So nothing mattered to a lot of us, majority of us. Nothing mattered to us. Those that could do something chose not to do anything because they wanted to enjoy the benefits of either being in the good books of Yahya Jammeh. If you go back maybe 22 years, there is a website called Gambia L Archives. If you go to Gambia L, you type my name in there, Alagie Barrow, from 22 years on up to this day, you will find that one thing I've consistently spoken against or spoken on was the tyranny, the abuse of Gambians. I have never wavered. That has never changed. It's been the same message for 22 years. I've never moved an inch. It's been that same message. If I can do that, and the time that I was doing some of these things, I was in the US military. And I was still visiting Gambia. But I that did not stop me from speaking out. In 2010, they were supposed to set up some military academy in the Gambia. I was invited to be part of it, and I turned it down. I refused because I didn't want to associate myself with a system that I thought was terrible, with a system that I thought was abusing Gambians. I don't want to play any part whatsoever in that. If I cannot do anything about it, I'm definitely not going to take part in it. Unfortunately, that wasn't the position of many Gambians, and that's why we ended up where we were.
Ended up where we are, and yes, I can attest to that. I followed Gambia L And I know Alagie there. I didn't put the name on the face until now, but really, and the Hamjatas, the LDs and all those things were all there. And when Samsudin Sar was telling the truth, so until he swapped and start, looking at us sorry about that online. But brother, you were appointed at the TRRC, and the moment your appointment was announced, supporters of Janneh and some people who think they are affected, strongly start attacking or disliking your appointment if you want. And according to your book, you learn that there is one overzealous supporter, your word, of Janneh, will attempt to file a petition against your hiring. Those was that time you were newly coming. I know you met with the victims already. You want to support the victims and all those things. And as you said, as you said, this was a rude awakening that the fangs of the dictatorship, by dipped into the mind of many Gambians. How do you feel? Did that kind of upset you? Did that kind of scare you or discourage you, or did it give you determination to even go and do something for the victims, which you are very very passionate about?
So yes, of course, if you know my history, um, just even outside of December 30, I used to use a moniker online called Eden Sharp. Um, and Eden Sharp at the time, or at least my writings at the time, were very uncompromising. I didn't get along with a lot of people, especially people that enabled the tyranny, the dictatorship in Yahya Jammeh's government. I upset a lot of people. No one has ever accused me of lying on them. No one has ever accused me of saying something about them that wasn't true. Whatever I said about them is what they did. History is here for all of us, and this hasn't been so long ago that we cannot remember what happened. So yes, of course, because people, people. I mean, up to now, up to this day, today, like as I speak to you, there are people that are upset with me for one reason or the other. There are people that are upset because I call this book "The Dictator Is Us." There were just a few weeks ago, somebody got very upset because I talked about journalists. So you always get that. That's going to happen. Um, Now with the TRRC, yes, when I get hired, um, unfortunately, I was actually very sick in bed. I could not actually get up to do much of anything. So I wasn't really even aware of much. I mean, I wasn't aware of what was really going on at the time. But for me, this is what happened. Let me just walk you through quickly about my journey. When I came to the Gambia in 2018, one of the places that I tried to volunteer to work was with the Victim Center. I went there and told them, "This is my qualifications. This is what I can do. I want to volunteer to work here to help the victims find justice." That was my intent. That never really panned out. In Gambia, if you say you want to volunteer, people often think you're looking for money. That wasn't the case with me. But no one took me up on this voluntary position. So I ended up picking up a job working as a country director for a consultancy. I was overseeing, I think, 4 or 5 African countries. And then the TRRC came about. I spoke to Baba Gala Jallo, whom, when you talk to people, they say, "Oh, I get hired because, Baba is my friend." But you look at my background, and not to brag, but you look at my background, there was not, of the people that applied for that position, there was nobody was more qualified than I was for that position. Um, Anyway, so I spoke to Baba. Initially, actually, the intent was to get my organization to work with the TRRC, but Baba didn't want to do that. He said he wanted everything in-house. Long story short, I told him I'm going to put in my application. But before I did that, I went to the victim center again and said, "Hey, I'm going to apply to the TRRC. And these are my reasons for applying to the TRRC." I got their blessing, the people that I met at the victim center. Once I got their blessing, that's when I submitted my application. When my application was approved, I went back to the victim center to say, "I get hired for this position with the TRRC. This is what I want to do." That's why in the book you would see the very first MOU that the TRRC had with any organization anywhere in the world was with the victim center. I initiated that. So when these people were out there talking about all this, one, I was not feeling well, but even when I felt better, it never, if anything, it became a boon to me. Like, okay, now you will see. Let me show you. Because the people that really matter to me are the victims, not Yaya Jammeh enablers, not detractors, not people claiming, what's the name of the term? Conflict of interest. What interest would I have that is in conflict? What is my interest? People like to throw these terms out, conflict of interest, blah, 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 whatever. But you don't even, what interest? Is it money? Is it some kind of reward? What interest would I possibly get that is in conflict with my job? And now that the TRRC is over, we are yet to hear anything about, oh, this was conflict of interest because Alagie Barrow this. Oh, they should not have. They lied, talking about I paid I don't know if you saw that in the book. I went to see the junglers once. I came out, they were brewing attire, and I gave one of the guys, these were not junglers, these soldiers, I gave one of the guys 200. The next day, one of these ragtag newspapers reported that I went to the Farjara barracks to bribe to bribe the jugglers. But you're gonna have people saying these kinds of stuff because at least for me, they knew that I had no interest in money. They knew that I could not be corrupted. They knew that I'm coming and this is going to be very, very serious. So I think there was some element of fear of what was going to happen because I'm involved in this. But no, it didn't dampen my spirits. If anything, it gave me more encouragement to actually go after these perpetrators and people that were abusing Gambians.
Yeah, abusing Gambians. Once again, our viewers, we are discussing about this book, The Dictator is Us. And if we don't, they don't have justice, these victims anyway. We can help them a lot by buying this book. It's in Amazon. If you are in UK or Europe, you can order this from Amazon. £20. It's not much anyway. For most people here, those who are working, you can get this book, and this will contribute immensely, to the affairs of these victims that we are talking about. And as I said, this is a brilliantly conceived and masterly written book. Because you see yourself in the book. Everything that's happening in the Gambia, one way or the other. Because sometimes when I was reading this book, brother, I remember I was clapping for these soldiers when they were putting their hands up, the jamboree and the fanfare around them. So reading this book and The Dictator is Us, boomerang on me, and I feel a little bit ashamed, really, of supporting these dictators, the soldiers when they newly came, and that's what this book does to you. You see yourself there. Sometimes you smile reading and this. Sometimes you just open your mouth, because of some of the brutalities, some of the details that this book contains. And at the end of the day, it is the victims. We can do our quota and contribute one way or the other to the affairs of Mr. Barrow says, even a single butut, is not going to get it out of this book. Everything is going to go to the affairs of the victims. So greetings to Mariam C. Mariam C. is, she didn't believe Sidin Jai was under the Matthews. He was there. CD is everywhere now. And Barrow Turesao also is sending his greetings and his prayers to us. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Was looking forward to this. So, and we have Abubakar Janneh. This will definitely love to read. I will definitely love to read this book. Thank you for the compilation, brother. Saidy-Barrow. I like Manjiki really. My uncle is Kemeta, because yeah. So because all the men's his mom got died and he came last, and they call him Kemeta. It's unfortunate that he changed that name before he died, just because of as you always said, we are very easily brainwashed anyway. We can jettison our names and adopt names that we don't even know the meaning of. That came as a name is now I'm liking that. So Manjiki is beautiful for me, really. Musa Cham, greetings, a great man to you. You are talking about the victims, and they are your priority from the day one. When you went to the Gambia, the first people you meet is the victims, and one story that stood out, is you met with Pate Jallo, the brother of Ilo Jallo. You have leaders of stories, that you can count on. But you mentioned this specifically, it must have hit you, because he said the story stood out for you because of the painful, the raw emotion, How do you feel when some of these victims told you how deflected they had felt when the 30th coup attempt failed? I think you mentioned that because there was no hope at some point, and I remember I'm here, and I was with the phone to somebody, a respected man, and we were all saying things are going very well, very very well, and we were just celebrating and jumping and all those things until we realize things are not going according to how we were thinking. How do you think these people, the victims, because you saw it on their face, their body language and all those things, how deflected they were when they realized that no, the 30th December coup attempted one is failed, it's failed, it's no more going to be successful. Mr. Barrow, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, sir. Yeah, when I came to the Gambia with Cherno Njai and few others, we wanted to meet the victims because for me, I was in the United States. I was living there. I mean, had a pretty comfortable life. Um, Relatively comfortable life, doing well career-wise and doing well for myself. Um, I'm probably one of the very few people in the Gambia that can actually stand up and say that Yaya Jammeh or the APRC government actually never arrested not even one family member of mine. They've never fired a single family member of mine from work. They've never imprisoned a single family member of mine or killed a single family member of mine at all, like period. I'm talking people from not just immediate family, but even people from my kabilo, the whole kabilo. Not one single person was a victim. So for me, it wasn't about me personally. Before we started this program, we spoke about a few people in Gunjur that I know, um, and people that I consider at least as a father figure to me. So what right do I have to sit here and call that individual a father if I cannot treat him as a father? What right do I have to sit here and watch that person get abused by somebody else and I don't do anything about it because this person is not my blood father? So for me to you call me your brother, for me that comes with a responsibility, meaning you would treat me as your brother and I would treat you as my brother, meaning that if I see somebody doing something bad to you and I can do something about it, it's an obligation on me to step up and say and stop that person from abusing you. It's just that simple for me. Yes, when we came to the Gambia, the first meeting I had with any group was with the victims. And when they came, because of course people here Alagie Barrow, but most people at the time could not tell you what I look like. So when we came and they started asking na lunta onle many botana America, and I was sitting there. I pointed, I'm here, or at least I'm one of them. And so before we actually started the meeting, you start talking to people. That's when I spoke to people like Pate, and people want to tell you what happened to them. People want to share their stories with you. And so when they start talking, and no matter what you've done, especially for me, it's like I didn't even want to say anything about anything I've done because I was so ashamed of what happened to these people. Imagine somebody old enough to be your mother telling you, sitting there telling you, yengurang, inaf yengurang kombaye ngulu nyame. Dinding be loring ibenjube ka ikongang ku. Somebody that's old enough to be your mother sharing that story with you. You cannot sit there and say, well, I tried to stop it, but I didn't succeed. You cannot say that. It's like, it's shameful for me as a son, as somebody with a mother, to listen to another mother tell me that, or a father telling you what they did to him, where they take electric electric machine and put it on their genitals to shock them, to punish them. somebody old enough to be your father. This person testified publicly, so I can say his name, Bachsamba Jallo from Pirang. You know, so when you sit down and people are telling you these things, you cannot stand up and say, oh, well, you know, I tried to do something, but I failed or I didn't succeed. You just sit there and bow your head in shame that you as a son, as a Gambian citizen, as a brother, you know, could have done something to stop the pain of these people and you didn't. And so for the few people, they would come and say, hey, when you guys came after, I was so hopeful that my pain is going to be over. And when it failed, it's like you know, I just felt like a hole should be dug beneath me, and I get buried in it because I felt hopeless. For me, that was it. That we are going to keep dealing with this. And these are people that are visibly in pain, people that were limping, people that were, you know, still sick. You can actually see them. But these are people that were not getting any help whatsoever. And so they were counting on us to help remove Yaya Jammeh from power and enable them to be able to get some help. So you can imagine the disappointment that they felt when things did not go according to plan.
Yeah, and of course, you know, this is very, very, very sad. As I said, because you were there, you were hearing their stories firsthand. Some of these things didn't come to light at the TRRC. So I can imagine what you feel, because you know you went through different routes, and you know, out of your own pocket, and sometimes at your own risk. You know, sometimes when I was reading the book and I was saying, you know, how dear do you take that risk to go to some of the places, you know, and using your own car when TRRC, and we will come to that anyway when we come to TRRC, because we were thinking, you know, there were mountains of money at the TRRC, but to learn that at the beginning there's no office, there's no car, and you were doing the things, you know, and that's really scary. And many people, you know, those who will be there for money will have end everything at that stage anyway. So, but greetings to all the Jabang. Just being the website for Dictator is also fantastic. You know, so if you click that, if you want to get the book, you can get it. As I said, you know, you will learn things, you know, that will suck you reading this book. But at the end of the day, the bottom line is you will contribute a penny, a butut, you know, to the welfare of the victims. And Maria Majuare says, you have a great guest today. This is a teachable moment. And Abubakar and Mariama, greetings to all of you. Mariama C said, no offense, but Yaya is still in power. Yes, we are going to come there, Mariama, anyway, in essence, anyway. And brother Alagie, and you talk about, we're talking about December 30th attack, and you said in the book, I quote, Gambian soldiers were the main element in the attack, but out of fear, ended up betraying the operation by trying to play both sides. Something must have happened, you know, for the main elements. That's me asking now in that attack to want to play both sides. Do you want to elaborate on that? What happened? Because these are people who agree that they are going to do this. You know, suddenly, you know, you people unexpectedly went there and they play in the other side. Do you know anything, the reason why they switch off and went to the other side? What happened? Because some of us didn't know
Yeah,
the
well,
details.
so I was not part of those who went to State House. So whatever I say in that regard is based on what I mean, first-hand information from people that were there. But if you remember, there was a time Saul Baji, Yaya Jammeh's right-hand person, while he was in Equatorial Guinea, he performed ablution and held the Quran and swore that he was still loyal to Yahya Jammeh and he was not part of this Ambatat. I don't know if you remember that incident.
But yes, I remember it.
Um,
Yes.
yes, so there was a reason for that because Sorbaji was actually communicating with some of the people that were part of this Ambatat. I don't want to mention names here, but that was the reason why he had to do that because Yahya Jammeh is a 1 year person. People were coming to him and telling him, Solbaji, Dabe Disambatatile. Meninati attack, he was part of the team. And the word got to Solbaji. And at the time, in Equatorial Guinea, Solbaji was not on speaking terms with Yahya Jammeh in Equatorial Guinea at that time. So he became worried and wanted to assure Yahya Jammeh that he was still loyal to him, and that he was. That's why he performed ablution and did all this stuff. Now, when it comes to what actually happened, um, every military plan looks like a brilliant plan until it fails. Then it looks like a stupid plan. So when you hear people say, how can you go to State House and do this and do that or whatever, it's because they don't understand military operations. A plan is excellent until it fails. Then it becomes stupid. Um, they think it was just 10 people that went to State House. There were lots of people, Gambian soldiers, that were involved in December 30, way more than people know. Way many soldiers than people know. And there were different aspects to this operation as well. You don't just go and attack one place and think it's over. You have to take control of different places. All the other locations were already in control. The last step was State House. And at State House, what happened is, like I said, the Gambian soldiers led by Lamin Sane, peace be on him, may his soul rest in peace, was the one in charge, was the one dealing with these Gambian soldiers. I personally, on that level, I didn't deal with any Gambian soldiers. I refused to deal with them because if I don't know you, I cannot trust you on that type of operation. So I refused to deal with Gambian soldiers. I told them, you guys are in charge of this. You wanted my assistance. I've helped. I've done my part. I can do other things, but I'm not going to State House because I don't believe in the plan to go to State House because it relied on Gambian soldiers doing things or doing what they were supposed to do, and I couldn't trust that. So I decided not to. I chose not to go. What people don't know is December 30, the day before, is actually when it was supposed to happen. If you read Chernonjai's book, you will see that in there. The day before is the day it was supposed to happen. When we went there, I asked for a plan because I'm not going to get into anything without being, au fait with the actual plan, without knowing exactly what's going on. I asked for a plan. What was presented to me wasn't satisfactory. And I told them I'm not going to be part of it. I turned my back. Other people agreed with me and they followed me. We aborted the plan on that day. And it was on the following day that they executed the other plan. But when they were executing that plan, I was assigned a different role, meaning I wasn't part of those that were assigned to go to State House. I was assigned to go and take care of other things. And that's what I was doing. Now, the reason I say they were playing both sides is people were talking to Lamin Sane, but at the same time, they were also talking to Saul Baji. This is in Saul. You can go and read Chernonjai's book. You would see this there. They were talking to Lamin Sane, but also talking to Saul Baji. There were other people involved who were not very forthcoming with information to Lamin Sane. And so, it's like, okay, if it succeeds, they are part of it. If it fails, they don't want to be part of it. If you remember when Janneh came, they said Gambian soldiers were not involved. But later on, you saw them going around and arresting Gambian soldiers. Gambian's right-hand person, his bodyguard at that time, the person that was around him 24/7 for the most part, was part of December 30. And when he ran away and fled the Gambia, he was with that person. When he came back home is when he arrested this individual, who was I guess he's still in the military, but he was a colonel at that time, and he was his principal protection officer or something. But these were people that Sane was talking to. The people that betrayed Sane were people that were actually working at State House because, again, they don't trust each other. They were playing both sides, hoping that whichever way it goes, they would be able to maybe claim that I'm with this group. And I think that's what happened. Again, I wasn't there. I wasn't privy to these conversations, but I saw the when they took them to court martial, I saw the transcripts of that court case. And so I do have a pretty good idea of what transpired.
Yeah, brother, whatever happened, you people are heroes. We are proud of you. It's only few people that will take the Zuspa, if you like, to do that thing, especially.
Yes, and on that point, let me just also tell you, or let me just make this. There is a saying in the Yoruba proverb, the Yorubas of Nigeria. They say that a person who has been a slave from birth does not value rebellion. If you remember Bob Marley's song, Emancipate Yourselves from Mental Slavery, Now you put those two things together, emancipate yourselves from mental slavery. Then you add the Yoruba statement that the person who has been a slave from birth does not value rebellion. Mental slavery is still very existent in Gambia, like it's rampant, it's all over. So you cannot expect everyone, especially people who are afflicted with mental slavery mindset, to appreciate rebellion because they've been mentally enslaved for God knows how long. There is no way they can value rebellion. If I tell Gambians that in some constitutions, state constitutions in the United States, they have a thing called the right to revolution, they would not believe it. But because they are ignorant of these things, they think that it's okay for people to abuse you. It's okay for people to violate your rights. It's okay for people to come and attack you, kill your people, and all you have to do is just, just accept it. But even the person, the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, the one that we all look up to, the best human being out there. If you remember in the Battle of Badr, he didn't just sit at home. He went to the war ground to defend his people. He was praying to Allah, but he just didn't rely on prayers. They went and defended themselves against the invaders. But the Gambian thinks that people can abuse you, they kill you, they rape you, they do everything to you. Ngatu alabul. You are not any better than Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The whole country put together is still less than that man. So if he has to pray to Allah, but also go to the battlefield, who are you to think that you can just sit and these guys go out there, kill the solo Sundays, kill students, rape women, and you think you can pray to Allah and it's going to be okay? It's never happened for anybody, anywhere in the world, that a tyrant just leaves you in peace just because they found, reason to leave you. It never happens. You have to fight for your rights every time.
Yeah, definitely you have to fight for your right. I think you quote that, and you said the average Gambians, like many Africans, has no sense of the right to revolution, no matter how abusive their governments become. Many you will come to find would rather eat meat in slavery than eat mushroom in freedom. It's a beautiful quote, really, but it's so sad. Even at this level, some people can manage with their life, but as you said, they want to go and cringe and crawl for dictator just because they were going to give them a government position. You mentioned a lot of that in your book, and to the extent that students will be slaughtered, solo sentence will be killed, women will be raped, people were forcefully taken to be branded as witches. And this is as a soap opera for us, because we were just enjoying it on TVs and all those things. Nobody said nothing. And at some point, Yaya got so determined because, he has a very, very lazy people. And I don't think he even believe he's loved, the things that he did. And we are clapping for him about those. And brother, but you quote in your book and you said that in chapter 2, to say that the Gambia is bureaucracy heavy is an understatement, and for one who is not used to bureaucratic carousels, it can be very frustrating to get anything done in a truly and efficient manner. How did you mitigate your way in this unfamiliar territory or system? Because you didn't work in the Gambia before, and you were in one of the biggest democracy, if you want, or one of the best countries in terms of many things, and and was it a hindrance, to your progress at that time, quoting and citing that, and which is a big surprise to me and big shock to me. There were no cars, to do certain things, and I think, you said, our biggest challenge was the lack of a car to go where we needed to. This hampered our work a great deal. Or you said, yes, hampers your work, and but this is just a surprising to us. We were thinking and everything is nice, it's set, and with the TRRC, but this bureaucratic thing, how did you manage that, to do How did you force yourself? What motivates you? I know, the victims issue is there. You want to help them. You want to give your life to them. To use your own car to receive, anonymous calls that come from nowhere you don't know, and there was no security, and you go and meet them. You don't know where. Anyway, it was a female voice, but it can be anybody else using that female, and you were a target because they know, people came out in large numbers, especially APRC fans, and supporters to criticize your appointment. This bureaucracy is still there. It's hampering Gambia's development. How did you manage your way through it?
Well, I was lucky. If I'm going to be honest, Mr. Janneh, I was lucky. I had Baba Galle and Musubakoto Sao, my boss. My immediate boss was Musubakoto Sao. And of course, Baba Galle Jalo, Dr. Baba Galle Jalo was the executive secretary. And those two people shielded me. Because of the sensitivity of what I'm doing, they ensured that I could get everything that I needed, that they could provide. So when it came to bureaucracy, yes, I'm not familiar with the Gambian system and what is required and what have you. But also, I had a wonderful team. My deputy at the TRRC, Mansour Job, a brilliant young lawyer. I had police officers, police investigators that worked on my team. Some of them are actual lawyers. I had statement takers that also are from Gambia and have worked in the Gambia, and so they know this system. So I was surrounded by people that know this system very, very well. So it was just a matter of putting our heads together to see how best we can work efficiently. I wish I could sit here and give all the credit to myself, but it was really my team that made that possible for me. Yes, you talked about the lack of resources. Yes, when we started the TRRC, there was no office. I remember there were times that I had to go and rent places to have meetings with people, sensitive meetings with people, because some of the people that I was working with did not want to be seen in public with me, or they didn't want anybody to see them with me. And yes, these are things that came out of my pocket myself. I was using my own vehicle at the time, buying my own petrol. But what motivated me was, I got into this. I got into the TRRC. I chose to go there and work there. I could not just sit there and say, well, I don't have a car to go to Biam and meet that individual, the anonymous caller that you were talking about, or I don't have a car to go to Casamas and meet a witness there. And I don't go to these places alone. Because on my standard operating procedure, none of my investigators was allowed to go and meet with a witness by themselves. It had to be a team. So being the leader, I cannot disobey my own rules and go out and do things on my own. I always go with somebody. If I don't go with somebody on my team, I go with SFR. Yes, so that's how it was. On the lack of resources, that was a challenge. It hindered our work because I have one car, I don't have 10 cars. And I can only give one or two people to use my car to go and conduct business. But eventually the TRRC did get us a car, one vehicle. That wasn't enough. We didn't have a lot. I remember through the kindness of a particular Gambian, I reached out to one person and just cried out like, listen, I need help here. I am not able to do this because I don't have this and this and this. This person linked me with another individual and they asked me to submit a proposal to get funds. So I wrote a proposal and we were lucky. I was granted $40,000 grant to my unit, not the whole TRRC. Some people at the TRRC were angry at me because when the resources came, I said, no, my unit is going to get everything, not everybody at the TRRC. So from that 40,000 that I got, we were able to buy two cars for my unit. We bought a printer and we bought everybody a laptop. Me personally, I never used the laptop until I used my own laptop until I left, because when those laptops came, that culminated with the time that I had already resigned. So I just left. So I never used those laptops. I didn't use the printers. But yes, before I left, my whole team had laptops. We had voice recorders, but these were things that we didn't have enough of until, we were able to secure that $40,000 grant. And I used $40,000 and it was pass through an organization, they also had to take their administrative fees. So I ended up with $35,000. So the $35,000 is what I used to buy 2 cars and buy other stuff that my unit needed. Yes, people thought that we were getting paid $5,000 a month at the TRRC. And I guess, people would speculate. They would think things like that because they would think that maybe that's why we are there. That's why we are doing the job. People at the TRRC tried. I mean, a lot of people did wonderful, wonderful work. A lot of people sacrificed a lot for the victims. You can't have somebody, a victim in a certain situation, and you know that they are dealing with a situation. You look at them and you turn your back on them and not give them what you're supposed to give them to get the help that they need. So I know lots of people that sacrificed and helped a lot of people out. The bureaucracy in the Gambia, I don't do too well with. I'm not the most patient person. But like I said, I was shielded by my bosses. I was also surrounded by people that knew what was going on. I cut a lot of fat. I don't deal with a lot. Like, for instance, at my unit, some of my guys, they come to work when they wanted to come to work. I didn't force them to come to work at 9 o'clock, because for me, there is no point in coming to the office and sitting between 9 o'clock and 11 and you have nothing to do. You might as well stay home and do something productive. Don't waste your fare to come to work and just sit there. If you have nothing to do, there's no need to come to work. But again, all those things I was able to implement because my bosses, Musuba Koto again and Baba Galajalo, allowed me to run my unit the way I saw fit. And these were not decisions that I took alone. Oftentimes, I would run it by my team and see what they think before I actually made a final decision on what we are supposed to do. So, yeah, I didn't deal with the bureaucracy too much because I had people that helped me navigate the contours of Gambian bureaucracy.
Yeah, thank you, brother. We appreciate the TRRC. If you read this book, you will know. It was not nice, and the faces at the interview, people are smiling, or sometimes, as I shouting here. But reading this book, the challenge that they face, to constitute, that hearing, is humbling, really. So that's why it is so important for all of us to read this book. I bought 2 books, and I'm going to give one to my mentor, Lamin Jedabo, and so, but, just in my small way to contribute to the affairs of the victims. These victims are our families, our brothers, though they sacrifice a lot, and it could have been anybody. That's because Janneh could victimize anybody at any time. So this is why we all need to contribute. Now this is our chance to get this book, get yourself some understanding of the contours of dictatorship in the Gambia, and you will enjoy this book, and it will educate you, it will enlighten you, it will upset you sometimes, reading some of the things, and what went on in the Gambia. You have a better understanding than only watching the TRRC, which everybody didn't watch everything, unless if you want to refer to special case. And Abu Bakr says, this man is educated. Understatement, Abu Bakr. Fatu Sisi say, thank you, Gunjur Online TV family, and greetings to all of you watching. Share this program so that all of our viewers, and it can just explode and reach out to everybody, so that we can all buy one book. Every Gambian should buy one book anywhere you are, especially those who are in the diaspora, to get to contribute to the affairs of the victims. The TRRC, as we know in the book, they struggle at the beginning, before, because there's a lot of hard work that went there. But you were keen at some point to understand the power structure and relationship between various units of the TRRC, and you mentioned that in your book. And you were asking for the power structure of the TRRC, where the reporting line, clearly spelled. Maybe these are your military drills anyway. You were asking. I worked in the Gambia, and then it was, when I went there, somebody just took me and sit me in the office and said, no, this is your people, manage them, and no handing over, no nothing, So I wish I know all this. I will have asked them about the reporting line, clearly spell, and all those things, Do you have Yeah, obviously there were tensions, there were, in a good way, and conflicts. Conflict management is sometimes good, between the different hierarchies, or power structures, within the TRRC. So sometimes I saw you mention in your book, when you went to Basir Barrow's two wives went to, testify, and that didn't go well with ESA and all those things. Some of these tensions, they're behind the scene, but we know, that how you start these things. So how did you get through with all this asking? Were they answered easily for you?
No, and yes, you are right. Maybe I am still, my mind is still structured like an old soldier, and maybe maybe why I
Yeah,
ask for
that
certain
is.
things. But no, for me, it's important that I understand what I'm getting into, and not only that, also, but I just know human nature. Um, you spoke very well of I don't want to say his name, the guy we spoke to before, who told me he's in the background, and I called him the boss, and he said no, he's not the boss. Um, you have expectations of each other. Um, and it may just be two of you, but when you include me and bring me, say for instance, you say, okay, Alaji, we want you also to be part of Gunjur Online, to be doing ABCD, and you bring another person, and you bring another person. The moment it starts becoming a group of people. If you don't have lines as to what is expected of every individual, you could run yourself into trouble easily, because the next thing you know, I'm going to be the one thinking, I'm going to take Ebrima's position today, or I'm going to get a guest today and we are going to have a conversation. It could be something in your line that I'm not supposed to touch. But if this is not written out in black and white, it can create issues between people. And I mean, we all have our egos, we all have our pride, we all think we know how to do things best. That's human nature. People think that they know. I mean, especially us Gambians. I call it we have an inflation of egos in the Gambia. We like, I'm the boss, I'm the big man, I'm this, I'm the one to decide this or that. So you have to have those reporting lines. It was a little bit easy for me because like I said, I go to Musu and I complain. I call her Mba Musu because the woman that raised me, Musu Bojang, is, I call her Mba Musu. And my mother's last name is Sisao, and Musu's last name is Sao. So she has both of my mother's names. So I call her Mba Musu. If I have problems, I go to her, or I go to Baba Galle and lay down my problem. Um, there are times that, like, I remember, for instance, the Americans wanted to come, the State Department of the United States, they wanted to come and hold some kind of press briefing at the TRRC grounds, and they were granted permission to do it, until I found out and I said no, I think it's a terrible idea. And thankfully, Baba and Musu both respected me enough. When I make a cogent argument, or I make an argument that they know is right, they don't come out and say, I'm the boss, what I say is what you have to do. They don't do that to me. They actually respect me enough to listen to, when I reason with them, they allow it. At my own level, it was easy. I had a deputy director, I had two lead investigators, I had a lead researcher, and I had two statement takers. Two lead statement takers. So for me, it was easy. I established the reporting lines, and everybody was clear. Everybody knew who to go to if they had problems or had issues, and I knew who to hold accountable as well. That wasn't always clear above me. So yes. But also, you have to put those things in context when you work with people, or any type of relationship that you have with people. If you never argue, you never have differences, somebody is not being honest. Even you and I, if we live together, as much as you see me as your big brother, after 1, 2, 3, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, we would probably have differences. If we don't have differences, is probably more, because you are either faking it, or I'm not being honest with you. So it's how you handle those differences that really matters, more than the differences themselves. So yes, we had those issues at the TRRC, just like any other institution would. I personally, yes, I'm a little bit tough. I can be a little bit hard headed. but I left in salam with everybody. I left in peace. I don't talk to everyone that I worked with at the TRRC because I wasn't particularly close to everyone there. I mean, sometimes it was work that put us together, and it was, after the end of the work, there is no relationship. But still, there are other people who have also become like family to me. I was mentioning a young lady from Gunjur, whose mother is a sister. When they came to marry her, actually, I was the one that took the guy to Gunjur to present him to the family, because they consider me to be family. And that started at the TRRC. I have people that are like family to me. So that's normal human, I guess, interaction dynamics, if you will.
Yeah, that's true, and that allows you to learn a lot from any institution that you work, the negatives and the positives and the conflict management things, which is a skill that all of us should have, because and we will come there, because Gambians don't like to be criticized. You particularly mentioned opposition circles, but Gambians generally, you said within the opposition circles in the Gambia, it is all right to criticize the government of the day, but any criticism of their respective leaders, or leader, is often viewed by most supporters as an attack or affront that provide mindless defensiveness, regardless of the merit of the criticism. You know, are we tolerant as people who accommodate all views, as we claim, the Gambians generally, not only oppositions anyway? Because even if you say somebody, you are very, very beautiful, and you will see the reaction, especially and unhingedly on the social media, and like you said, regardless of the merit of the criticisms, and those criticisms are good, because we cannot get it right all the time. We cannot, or as you said, if we are always in the same page all the time, then somebody somewhere is faking these things. So if we want to move forward, we have to have a thick skin, and we have to allow that criticisms, to cascade, and that will prick our mind to think about things, and see the best way for all of us, because we are in this together. I will repeat my question. Are we a tolerant people, who accommodates all views, as we claim, because we say, we are tolerant all the time. Gambians give a lot of good adjectives to themselves all the time, but somebody need to analyze this. Go ahead, Mr. Bro.
Well, are we tolerant? I guess it's obvious. You can see it today, right? So some of the people that came after me when I got hired at the TRRC was simply because I dared to criticize their political leader. One person came after me, and this was post that was shared with me. I've never met him. And when he was put to this individual that, well, Alagie has the qualifications, he said there are other qualified Gambians. But these other qualified Gambians never applied. So what is your problem? So yes, we say we are tolerant, but we are not. I mean, we are not the most tolerant people out there. We claim tolerance, we claim it as a virtue, but there's a reason why you see, for instance, even on our WhatsApp groups, you look at, I'm assuming Gunjur probably has some kind of WhatsApp group for the community. You go there, if you dare to mention politics or religion, you see what people would say to you. If there are certain people that are untouchable, meaning you cannot criticize them regardless of what they do. But these people are not sahabas. These people are not on Rasul's level. These are mere human beings like you and I, and people that make mistakes, people that say things that are not right, people that do things that are not right. Why can't we say it? So, but for the Gambia, or at least for many Gambians, the problem is we become so entangled with personalities, because it's personality politics that we play with, that we abide by. We become so entangled with these personalities that we see these people as infallible, as if they cannot make any mistake. If you say Hussein Udabo this, UDP people will come after you. You say Halifa Saleh that, PDOIS people would come after you. Just recently, I saw I cannot remember which party. They had some young lady reacting to somebody that had criticized their political party leader. I think it was the Bachili guy. I mean,
Yes,
if you
yes.
read the reaction, it's rather funny, because it's like, Jesus, like, seriously, all this just for somebody saying something about your political party leader. We take it very personal. We don't like being criticized. We don't like anyone saying anything about us. We take it personal. I could sit here and say, Ebrima, you haven't been doing this well, or you don't do this well, whatever. Instead of you looking at the merit of what I'm saying, you would take it as an attack against you. And because we usually have this complex, about ourselves, instead of addressing issues, I want to come after you. I want to come after your family. I want to come and call you names or insult you. But tolerant people don't act that way. You go to our WhatsApp groups. How many Gambian organizations have you known that have started from day one and up to now? They are functioning well, and there is no acrimony, and they haven't split up. Even our mayor associations, we don't last too long before we split up. And it's usually because of our intolerance to each other, because we want to control things a certain way, or we want to hear what we want to hear. We don't want to hear things that we don't think are favorable to us. And so when I said that in the book, it came from that, because some of the people that were criticizing me is simply because I criticized their political leader. This is a person that I never had any problems with. I never had any debate with. I don't think I was even friends with them on Facebook. But because I dared to write an article, criticizing their political leader, he didn't address anything in that article, not one bit. His only problem was I criticized his political leader. And I guess that's a no-go area. So I couldn't do that. And so when I say we are the dictator, it was the same thing. You could not criticize Yahya Jammeh. You cannot say anything bad about Yahya Jammeh. We see what happened to people that say anything whatsoever about Yahya Jammeh. You say anything negative, his people come and arrest you. Now imagine if we cannot criticize Ousainou Darboe and Halifa Sallah today. They are not even in power. Imagine when they are in power. What would happen then? Can we therefore say that what Yahya Jammeh was doing, these same people would not go and tell Ousainou, Alagie Barrow because you have power now? Ousainou may not do it, but that doesn't mean that people would not tell him to do it. Look at what Adama Barrow is doing today. Somebody says something about his wife, arrest him. Madi Jobate, arrest him. Ismaila Cisse, arrest him. Momodu Sabali, arrest him. For what? Because they said things that Adama did not like, or people coming to him and say, did you hear what they said about you? This person is talking about your wife. This person is saying this about you. I mean, yes, no. So to answer your question, we claim to be tolerant people, but for us, tolerance only means agreeing with us. You disagree with us, we are not tolerant.
No, we are not. We are not tolerant. And most of these WhatsApp groups, they will say, we don't discuss politics and religion. Then they close you up. You don't know what to discuss about again, because we view divorce politics from Gambia now, because everything that is happening in that country is a political decision. But anytime somebody will bring the British politics there, and we will all jump and comment on that, but not Gambian politics. Not our religion, not the imams or the priests and all those things. So you end up being quiet, or what can you do? If you take yourself off the group, then that's also is a crime. But nobody, they want to muzzle you. So you are very right. Gambians, are not very, very tolerant people. Mr. Barrow, why do you think this is? Is it because of our exposure, because of our political system? Because even siblings, even between my wife and husband, just to criticize somebody, to tell him no, this is not right. You can see a very, 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 very sometimes boisterous, reaction and defensiveness without putting the merit on the table for we to have a way forward. And this is hindering us at individual level and even at country level. I don't know what is responsible for this. Is it our upbringings and I don't know. I just don't know, but that's going to be our opinion, don't worry about that. But in your book again, you said, it is your position that the dictatorship of Jammeh survived for so long because of enablers. and that these enablers must be held accountable for the actions. If we do not want to repeat, if we do not want a repeat of dictatorship, you know, do you think the enablers of Janneh, is there any accountability? You can, if your answer is no, or yes, you can elaborate. No, I said, are we seeing the report of dictator, or the repeat of dictatorship in the Gambia, in your opinion? Because there's no accountability, there's nothing, no institutional reform and all those things. All the templates, we are going to come to the 1994 APRC coup. We cannot finish this anyway. I think, later on we will let you go and we will come back again, and because there's a lot of small details in the book, that are so important. I think many people will jump them, but those small details are so important. They need to be excavated, so that you can elaborate in them. Because if we can understand those things and ingest them, probably we will be able to solve some of the problem. Because I think this is an enigma for Gambia's, the key for Gambia's way forward. If we can decode some of these, the things, some of the things that you details in the book, it will be very, very helpful. So if all these templates are there, all these enabling environments are there, not only the mini dictatorship, but the full-blown dictatorship is a possibility in the Gambia. The whole mantra of never again, we are just going to shout about it, but definitely the underlying issues, if we don't address them, there's very likely somebody will come even worse than Yahya Jammeh. What is your opinion?
Well, yes, I think, and this is what people don't like for me to say, but that's okay. I've been insulted. My mother has been insulted. They've been saying that I since 2017, when Adama Barrow or the coalition government came in power. At the time I was writing as Eden Sharp. My position has always been to hold each other accountable. And for me, accountability doesn't mean prosecution. If, for instance, I did something wrong, you sat here and asked me about December 30, and I told you what I felt. I'm sure some of the people that are watching don't agree with me. Some people would agree with me. I'm open to that conversation with anybody. I'm open to debating anybody about my actions. It doesn't mean that I'm right in everything that I do. But, when I talk about accountability, it goes beyond this fixation we have on prosecuting. Now, as we are dealing with, for instance, the case of Solo Sunday, may he continue to rest in peace. You look at the case of Solo Sunday. The man went out to demonstrate with nothing that can harm another human being. Zero, no weapon whatsoever. Peaceful demonstration. He wanted electoral reforms. Why? Because he knew the electoral system is rotten, as all Gambians that pay attention know for a fact. What did they do? They found out that these guys were demonstrating. The NIA, the police, they got there, beat the people up, arrested the man, tortured him, killed him, wrapped him in a mattress, and buried him like a dog. And nothing came out of it. Nothing. Now, you look at the sequence of those events. Today, who are the people that are paying for that crime? The NIA 9. That's it. But as Justice Minister, Mama Fatima Singate at the time, it didn't say, Justice Minister, you're just supposed to provide justice for the government. You provide justice for the citizens. When the government doesn't act right, you have a duty to do something. The police officers that came and beat these people up, what was their responsibility to Solo Sandeng, to his family? What about us regular Gambians that also knew that they illegally killed another Gambian for nothing? The various ministers that were working in the government at the time, primarily the Momodou Tangaras and Sirif Bojangs and all these other individuals that were in Yahya Jammeh's government, they killed another human being that has done, even if let's say even what he was doing was illegal. Let's, for argument's sake, let's say that is the case. Is it right to get him, beat him up to death torture him to death, then put him in a mattress, go and bury him like a dog in Tangi. And you don't see anything wrong with that at all. If this was your father or your brother, how would you feel? Yet you continue to serve in that same government, and you continue to tell the world that Gambia is peaceful. Alama Cairo Mela. But what about the family of Solo? What about their Cairo? Does that matter to you? It never mattered to you. So when we say accountability, today we have the junglers. People, just junglers are bad. Alaji Kanyi, they are walking and, nobody's holding them to account. They should all be locked up. That is what you hear. Some of these junglers, I built relationships with them. I built very close relationships with some of these junglers. I became very close to some of them because it was not my job to judge them. It doesn't mean I don't tell them what I think, but it wasn't my job to judge them. And I didn't judge them. I will send you an audio after this conversation between you and I, because I cannot share it publicly. This individual is not here anymore. He's in Akhira. He passed on. But I will send you an audio that will tell you my relationship with those individuals. But when these junglers, when they kill people, when these families disappear, we know about it. We cannot sit down and say that the government didn't do anything about the killing of Solo Sanding, so we cannot do anything. No, the government is killing people in your name because the government represents you as a Gambian. And those people who were in power, in authority figures, have a responsibility to the Gambians. You kill an innocent Gambian, you have to answer to the Gambians. Every single Gambian life every single Gambian's life should matter to every Gambian there is. You shouldn't just sit down and relax and say, well, they killed Ebrima, he's from Gunjur. I'm from this other place. I don't even know Ebrima. And then you go to sleep. That it should never be that way. But the people that were part of that government, the people that wrote, because the NIA couldn't just come to your house and arrest you. It was the law that gave them that power. Who wrote that law? That somebody can come to your house at any time and arrest you and take you away and detain you for however long they want. If you read the book, you would see that the NIA claimed that they don't have, for years, they don't even know who they arrested. For a number of years, they couldn't even tell you how many Gambians they arrested. They don't even have those figures. And we think that is okay. We think that is all right. These were our brothers and sisters. These were, we all claim is one ummah. We are all Muslims. Well, your fellow Muslim is suffering. And the people that are making him suffer, you are sharing the table with those same people. And you don't see anything wrong with that. So when I talk about accountability, for me, it goes beyond this, let's go and prosecute Yahya Jammeh, let's go and prosecute the junglers. You see what is still going on today. Orders from the top. When Mahdi Jobate was arrested by the police, he asked them if he was arrested. They said no. He said, can he leave? They said no. It's orders from the top. So because we haven't held people to account, the mindset is still the same. The system that was there, the NIA still reports to Adama Barrow to this day. That hasn't changed. The laws that enabled Yahya Jammeh to be a tyrant, to abuse Gambians, is still there. And in my opinion, if Adama Barrow's powers are challenged, as we have seen, he will utilize those laws and abuse Gambians, as we have seen happen since 2017 to date, from the arrest of Dr. Ismaila Ceesay, to the arrest of the Mahdi Jobates, to the abuse of the Momodou Sabalis. We've seen these things. We've seen when people go to demonstrate, what do? Tear gas them. That's what they do. So these things haven't changed. They would not change. The only way you would see any change if there is no threat to Adama Barrow's power. But when there is any threat to his powers, he will utilize the same tools that Yahya Jammeh utilized to abuse Gambians. That's never going to change.
That's never going to change. And there's ever likely that we are going to have a more brutal dictator. As you said, if Adama Barrow's leadership is challenged to a certain level, he will just going to respond, and likely even more than Jammeh, because That's why that's how the environment is at the moment. And yes, and we clap for them when we are not in the same camp. I think Abubakar Janneh said that is agree. We are honest. He say I agree. We are honestly not tolerant. It is a matter of the camp one belongs in. And he went on and on because the 3 years Jotna people, when they were being brutalized, people's teeth were being knocked with rocks. Some people in the Facebook or on the Facebook platform were clapping and laughing and jeering on somebody said, he can run even more than Usaini Bolt, when he was running and all those things. So we definitely, yes, in agreement to what you were saying, because you said, you argue that the systemic issues the Gambia faces are beyond the scope of a criminal trial. That is holding people accountable. Have been reduced to banning people from government work, imprisonment, letting people go scot free in the name of amnesty and all. This is what Gambians know. This is what their accountability, is narrowed to. And what do you think? What accountability are you talking about outside this cycle, Mr. Barrow? And so that probably, the budding generations that will come tomorrow, because I don't think we know this. Sometimes I struggle. I say, what accountability are you talking about other than imprisonment? Banning you from government work and all those things. Sometimes exiling you if that is something. So what accountability do you have in mind, and you can share it with us?
Well, Mr. Janneh, if you think about it, our criminal justice system itself, when you think, let's say the word kasho, we you hear abe kasho lapon. It's not even it's not even one of our languages. It's French.
Ah,
It's French.
okay.
It's not our language. Before this, Europeans came and took over Gambia, or that's why I call it the colonial space.
The
Before they
colonial
came
stage, yeah.
and took over, what mechanisms did we have in place to hold people accountable? We cannot pretend as if we never had a system before the white man came. So this idea about prosecuting people, imprisonment, and what have you, these are alien to us. Mile two was not built by Gambians; it was built by the
No,
Tubabs.
the Tubabs,
It
yes,
wasn't built
yes,
by us; it was built by the
yeah.
Tubabs. So
Alaji,
when
Alaji, in Gunjur, when I was young, there's no police station there, there's no army camp there, all those things. The Kabilos and all those, we will all do communal work. If you refuse to go and you are at that age that should work, they sanction you one way or the other. And sometimes, they disown you. They don't want you to get involved in some of the things and all that. But if need be, they will publicly humiliate you. The
yes,
elder of that Kabilo will come, everybody will be there, and they will humiliate you, and you accept all those things. So now I can see some sense about where you are going to. So if we can use our own mechanisms, we can deter a lot, because our concurrents and all those things, concurrent kadula litong ika yiro lito wo watol environment o buka fenke nin dutol dine mammo folo concurrent kana ka bo fambondi le fintita e dutol be tonne for 3 months and all those things. These are all check and balance, that are fantastic, and we can improve them. Go ahead.
yes.
I have
So we
just
we,
put a
we
bit
never
point.
took we never take time to think for ourselves.
Mm.
We adopt this colonial, you know, um, I don't know, I'm echoing. I can hear myself. I don't know if it's gone. Now I cannot hear you. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah. You go ahead. Let me just mute myself and see where they're in.
Okay. Yeah. So I was saying, we adopt these systems, but before mile two, before this judiciary system that we have, that was imposed on us, that we never really sit down and think about, you know, like the very idea of punishment. Why do we punish people? What is the purpose of it? Today, if you take somebody, like for instance, what they did to Momodu Sabali, ban him from government work because they say the Janneh Commission found him guilty or what have you. But there are other people that were also found guilty. You forgive those people. it leads to this selective accountability, selectiveness, whatever. The TRRC found some people guilty of certain things or whatever. The government chose to forgive those that were in their, those that are in their good books. Those that are in their bad books are the ones that they are going to go after. What are they going to do? Ban people from work. So now let's say you ban Alagie Barrow from work because you say that I did something wrong. You ban me from government work for 10 years. And that's my punishment. Or you take Ebrima Janneh and you go and put him in mile 2. How is that going to solve Gambian society? They ban people from work. We still see people saying it's orders from the top. That hasn't stopped. They ban people from work. We still see police officers going and killing Gambian citizens in Faraba. That wasn't too long ago. They banned people from work, but what has it done? What has changed? Up to this day, you can, if Adama Barrow wanted to constitute a team of junglers, it's easy. He can still do it. If he wanted people to go and kill Gambians, he can find Gambians that are willing to go there and kill other Gambians. That's going to be there. So, but this whole idea of, taking people to court and going through this whole process and then putting them in mile 2. What are you teaching them? What is the purpose? What is the end goal? Is it just for people to suffer? Is that what you are trying to do? So we never sit down and really question what is the essence of punishment? What is the purpose? Before you talked about banishment, they banish people from a community when this person is not fit to live in that community anymore. But they don't just make that decision lightly. They actually look at things. If you look at the way justice systems work, these are things that we don't think about. But even in your compound today, if you and your wife have a problem, you try to solve it within Janneh Kunda first, right? If it is between your wife and my wife, who is in another compound, then it becomes a Kabilo issue. The Kabila tries to solve that problem within the Kabilo. If it is between two people from different Kabilos, then it becomes a community issue. These are different levels of justice. Now, is it perfect? No, it's not perfect by any means. But the system that we have is also not perfect. So you have to refine these systems and find what suits you, what works for you, and not just swallow what some Westerners coming here telling us, prosecute Janneh, prosecute. You can prosecute in Sierra Leone. Can you believe it? When they did this prosecution, you know how many people they prosecuted in Sierra Leone?
No.
About 9 people. Out of everything that happened in Sierra Leone, only 9 people. You think 9 people were responsible for what happened?
No.
Yes, but these are the problems. And look at where Sierra Leone is today. So for me, we just need to broaden Allah, God gave us minds to think for ourselves. He didn't give me a mind so that Ebrima Janneh can think for me. No, he gave me a mind so I can think for myself. But we rely on other people to do the thinking. And then we have people coming out talking about international best practice. Slavery was international best practice. Colonialism was international best practice. We embrace these ideas from these things, and we don't try to change anything. Mile 2 is still the same, is still there. The judicial system, some of our laws were written for us by white men who never had our interest. They wanted to control us, but we still adopt these same laws. We still do things the same way. So for me, the idea of accountability goes beyond prosecuting a few people and banning people from work and say, oh, voila, that's transitional justice. No. The old woman that was undressed by somebody as young as Ebrima Janneh needs to know that you don't do that. You don't do that. So for me, accountability is talking to people like that. These things that we look down on today, for instance, this Kaseboyo and things like that, we look down on these things, but they taught you lessons. They taught you things to do and things not to do. But so for me, is like, how do we get somebody, a young man who is a soldier, to know that you don't undress somebody that's the age of your mother or your father, or that you don't undress people just because you have power over them. The witch hunt, which I know we haven't talked about, but the witch hunt, when when Yaya Jammeh's so-called witch hunters came to police headquarters in Banjul, can you believe it? Of all the police officers that were present there, Only one person refused to go and swear allegiance to Yaya Jammeh at a shrine, Jalauto. They dug a hole, they put goat blood in there and God knows what else. And police officers lined to go and swear allegiance. Nankali, I'm loyal to Yaya Jammeh. Only one person refused. And his book is coming out in March very soon. But you will read his book and you would see. So when you see some of these things, it makes you wonder, you know, why is it that of all those people, only one person stood and said, no, I'm not going to do it? You are Muslims, majority Muslims. Why would you go and swear at a shrine to say that you are loyal to another human being, a mere ordinary human being? And you don't see anything wrong with that. So for me, addressing these issues, talking about these issues, because it doesn't mean that these people are terrible people. It doesn't mean that they are bad. But, you know, we need to have conviction. We need to have principles such that I, as a person that calls myself a Gambian, considers you as a brother, will not stand again and watch you get abused by another fellow Gambian because I want to self-preserve, because I feel that if I say something, then I'm going to lose my job with Gunjur Online. It should never be like that. But how do you make me do that? And for me, that's what accountability is about.
Yeah, I get it now. I think some of this can be in our schools, in the army trainings, and all those things. To teach people, the new recruits. This is not what you do. Just imagine, dressing somebody's naked. Who is older than your mom. See your mom in her, and all those things, or your dad in him, and all those things. So I get it. So hopefully one day, I don't know when that will be. Somebody somewhere will start thinking for ourselves and see, what we had, and it reminds me things fall apart. In Kwonku was banished from the land. He has to go outside, for a couple of years, and he came back and get very, very disciplined and all those things. He went to his distant relatives, but he was out of his own place, and leave everything there. So these things we need to think about it. That's why it's so important. If we listen, we are lucky Gambians, and but we are not listening. And Mr. Barrow, on page 57, you pointed this to anyway. We have to give credit sometimes. You said um, you pointed out that you were surprised by the degree of Jammeh's involvement in the affairs of government at various levels. He was very dedicated, in your words, to all matters that interest him. The volume of information he dealt with daily was quite impressive and remarkable. Remarkably, I say remarkably, he found time to be so heavily involved, given that he also dedicated himself to various extracurricular and other political activities. Good leadership skills or a positive on his side?
No, so for me, when I think of leadership, I define them by effectiveness, or
Oh,
lack
yeah.
thereof. I think good or bad. To say that somebody is a good leader or a bad leader, I think that comes down to a matter of opinion. Because how do you measure good or bad? Um, so if you ask some people, they will say Yaya Jammeh was a very good leader. I mean, I'm sorry if you ask Fabakary Tombonjata even today, because he said Yaya Jammeh was better than Barrow. So he would still insist that Yaya Jammeh was a very good leader. So if you ask some of these APRC folks, I'm sure they would say that. But yes, I think Yaya Jammeh was a very effective leader, in that he was able to control so much, by strategically, placing certain people in certain positions. So when we started the TRRC, one of the things that we did is, we collected his communication between the President's Office and the NIA, President's Office and Ministry of Interior, President's Office and the Ministry of Justice. And when you go through these documents and you see his comments on these documents, that's when I thought, man, this guy was really, really involved in everything. Like, he knew everything that was going on. But also, you have to also put in mind that, the NIA had agents in every single government department in the Gambia. They had people planted within every major community in the Gambia. So it became a land of informants. And this information is cascaded up, if I can say that. But this information is sent up, is filtered up to Yaya Jammeh's level. Um, and so he knew what was going on. That's why you would hear so many times such and such person has been fired from government work. Oftentimes they never tell you why, because if they tell you why, they would then the person that was fired would know that it was Ebrima that reported me. It was neighbors reporting on neighbors. It was family members reporting on family members. It was friends reporting on friends. It became a land of informants. You just couldn't really trust too many people in the Gambia at the time, and maybe up to this day today. So, but the fact that he was able, I mean, if you look at the volume of information that he was dealing with, these memorandums, and he was actually directing orders, giving orders to say, Ebrima, make sure you arrest Alagie and charge him with A, B, C, and D, and make sure he doesn't get bail in his own handwriting, and just passing instructions to people. You look at all the stuff that he was doing, and then you also think about the political engagements that he had, and his own extracurricular activities with these jamborees that he would hold in Kanilai or at State House, or other activities that he was involved with. You come to realize that, man, this man was not in peace, because it was so much work that he had to do to control Gambians this much, and he dedicated himself to it. So yeah, that's what I meant by that. I honestly was impressed by the level of his involvement in all government affairs. So do I think he was an effective leader? Absolutely. Do I think he was a good leader? If you ask me that, I would say no, he was a terrible leader, because good
No,
leaders don't go.
he was a terrible leader, because good leaders leave legacies. Good leaders leave
Yes.
their country in a good hand, so that but Gambia is retrogressing on a daily basis. He must be a very, very busy man. The jamboree, the rustling, the dances, the attire sessions, and all those things, on top of all these voluminous, information that we have to deal with. Oh my God, so just imagine, bro, if that energy is turned into developing the country, the Gambia. Probably Jammeh will be sitting in the Gambia today, enjoying even his retirement, because he don't need to be, in government, because here we have John Major here, we have Tony Blair here, Gordon Brown here. All these people are sitting here enjoying their lives and all those things. That tells a lot about African leaders. So unless you are very, very selfish, and I think I'll have to close it here, because we there's a lot that we can do, But this question, this small paragraph, that sums our priority, where our priority lies as a government. Because you said you compare the NIA and the Justice Building, the NIA building and the Justice Building, and pointed out the stark difference in the two buildings. That's representative of where the Gambia government's priority lies. Justice, as with everything else in the Gambia, is secondary to power. So, Mr. Barrow, this is so important, and juxtapose this with whatever priority we have. That means we can do better than where we are if we prioritize, for the general mass for the masses of the country. We invest in the productive sector, in our youth, in our women, and all those things, and this will yield dividends. But no, Jammeh's priority was the NIA. That was the bulwark of his power. He can cow down on anybody through the NIA. And the justice minister went, and I read you were cramped. You want to be cramped in somewhere. It's a small office there and all those things. There's no space there, but you have the elegance of the NIA building. But that's where his priority is. So for people to say we are poor, and all those things, and it's yes, there can some be element of truth, but we have a priority just to self-preserve ourselves, to sit on the head of the majority of Gambians, and the penury that is going on in that country, it doesn't mean anything to these people as far as their power is secure. So this analogy, this juxtaposition is details, but it tells a lot about our country, and our leaders generally. So maybe this, if we understand these things, it will stop us, from God worshiping these people. Probably we are not right, because I think, if Pabakari Jada Tomong is God worship Yaya, as he claimed, he will have been in Equatorial Guinea with him. But sometimes we play a lot of double standard. Let's end it here. Can you untangle this area and see the significance of it, what you were saying? Because when you contextualize it, it can sum up the whole book. Go ahead, Mr. Barrow.
Yeah, when we started the TRRC, we used to go to the Justice Ministry again because we didn't have an office. That's where we would go to work. In Banjul. It was one big hall, I think it was their conference room. That's where we all used to just sit. And this was few staff. This wasn't everybody at the TRRC at the time. And so one day I happened to be there and I needed to use the bathroom, the toilet. And I went to, out of curiosity, I decided to just walk around. I like to have situational awareness of where I am and what have you. And out of curiosity, I went all the way to the back, and I went to a building at the Ministry of Justice. And this was a building where, forgive my language, but it's a place that I would not even stand and use the bathroom. It was that nasty. It was terrible. And so I decided to look around some more, because it's like, wow, how much more terrible can a government building be? So I looked around and I was shocked at what I saw. But it never really, I guess, registered as much with me until I went to the NIA the first day. And I went into the building itself. I saw the elegant furniture and the NIA staff. And this is not the old place. I'm talking about the new building that they had. And when you go there and you see that building, and it's like, wow, this is, this is a very beautiful place. This is somewhere I would like to work, compared to the place that I would not even want to, stand and use the bathroom. So when you look at those two, for me, it hit home. It hit home because I'm like, okay, well, the NIA, what they do for the president, the Justice Ministry doesn't. The NIA protects his powers. They ensure he remains in power. The NIA reports that they were sending to Yahya Jammeh at the time, they had a political affairs unit. I don't know if they still do, but they had and I'm assuming they would still have one. But some of the letters that they were sending to Yahya Jammeh were actual, memorandum saying Ebrima Janneh and so held a meeting in Gunjur about so and so. So and so are the people that spoke at that meeting, and it was a UDP meeting. But you should not have to worry about these people. They cannot take your power. Like they cannot do anything to your power. That's the type of information the NIA was providing to Yahya Jammeh. So they were taking care of him. Justice was for the citizens, was not for Yahya Jammeh. He didn't care too much about that. It was more about his power. There is a reason why when Yahya Jammeh was traveling, or Adama Barrow to this day, when they are traveling, they make sure 2 hours before they come, people don't use the road. And they say it's security reasons. 2 hours before they come, nobody uses the road because of security reasons. The amount of money, the amount of funds that is dedicated to the president's office, you compare that to, for instance, the youth and sports ministry, you will see that the president's office, which consists of the NIA, that's where the NIA or SIS falls under the president's office. When you see the budget that comes out, then you realize, because you budget according to your priorities. Today, you, Ebrima, if you are going to put together your budget, your first thing is going to be food and rent, or if you are renting, or food and mortgage. Other things like shopping, going to holiday in the Gambia for 1 week or 2 weeks, that's not a priority. You put money where your priority lies. So you go and look at our budget. and you see where the priority lies. President's office is far more is prioritized over many other ministries, including what they call the backbone of the Gambia, which is agriculture. Those are not their priorities. The priority is the president's power. How does he stay in power longer? How do we make sure that the president basically becomes more powerful than he already is? And everybody that is associated with making sure the president stays in power and gets more power gets all the money. The others, you get some. But the most important office out there today, or before, during Yahya Jammeh's days, the most important institution to Yahya Jammeh was the NIA. That was the most important institution to him. He had NIA officers spying on the army. He had them spying on the police. He had them spying at airport. Every single place you name, there was an NIA office. Even at the TRRC, when we started the TRRC, under this new government, that's why I told you nothing has changed. Under this new government, the SIS sent agents at the TRRC without telling us.
Wow. Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
So these are things that and if you, I mean, in the book, maybe you may have missed that, but I mentioned that in the book because that's what happened. Because they want to know everything that is going on, and the reason they want to know, they claim, is for the security of the nation. But for these security officials, security of the nation simply means security of the president. The nation's security doesn't really matter to them, because if it did, they would have prioritized the things that would make sure people are secure, the youths, agriculture, and so on and so forth. But those are put to the back burner, and the important one is the president's office, the NIA, the secret agents, the people that are listening to this conversation today, right now, as I'm talking to you, the person that's writing down. And when he's done, he's going to submit it to the SIS. And eventually it would be on probably some briefing to say, Alagie Barrow was having a conversation with Ebrima, Janneh, and this is what they talked about. So that's the priority. I could sit here and talk to you about how to mechanize agriculture. That's not going to be, that's not important to them. I could sit here and tell you about the youth bulge, meaning the youth in the Gambia today, and how that is a security challenge to the Gambia. That's not what they would be interested in. But if I sit here and say anything against the powers of Adama Barrow, or say I know people that want to do A, B, C, D, it's getting straight to Adama Barrow through the SIS. So those things haven't changed. Those things still remain. And it's all over. You look at the institutions that protect the president's power, or the people that protect the president's power, even within the political field. His people that protect his power, his NPP or his AFPRC, APRC people. You look at them, the ones that protect the president's power are the most powerful people in the country. Not the farmers, not the businessmen, not the engineers, not the doctors. None of that stuff really matters more than the powers of the president.
Wow, and thank you so much, Mr. Barrow. That's the power of this book. That's why once again I'm pleading to you all, on behalf of the victim center, so that we can get this book. But it will enrich your thinking about the tour de force of dictatorship in the Gambia, and the brutalities and human rights abuses that happened in that country. Sometimes, a lot of people are still underestimating what happened in the Gambia during the time of dictatorship. They didn't comprehend, the magnitude, the sweeping, arms of dictatorship in that country, and the legacy that the dictatorship, left in that country, the damage that is causing in that country. That's why sometimes you cry when you hear people asking for Yahya Jammeh to come back and rule the country. Because they don't comprehend, they didn't understand, what happened. They didn't empathize what is happening, to those victims. Some of them are scarred for the rest of their life. They're disabled. A lot of them died. The pain that they are going through psychologically, mentally, what happened to them. Me and you might not see, we superficially see everything through the TRRC. We didn't internalize it yet. So that's why this book will help you, and any small thing that we can contribute. The amount of people asking for peanuts, and to cure themselves, to have access to medical treatment all over the place is beyond belief, you know. But the fleet of cars that the president, the environment that is going to protect the power of the leaderships, just you can see that glare on your face, and to the detriment of our poor people. So once again, Mr. Barrow, we have a long way to go, and I don't want this, and a lot of people want this thing to go on, but I cannot keep you here the whole day, because I have papers and papers and papers here. The small details that some people sometimes they are not very elaborate, but those are the hidden issues. Probably you will want us to dig, so that we can discuss. The whole idea is to start challenging Gambians to think, and because if we get it right, according to this book, we will get it right in the Gambia, and that country, wherever you are. I've been here for 10 young and here for a long, long, long time. Now, what I want is to go home, and sit in Gunjo and eat my bunga fish, my charlos, and all those things. That's what I want. That is only thing that can make me happy. I dream of going back to that place. And if I can go for hunting, that's what I want to go. So that's what happens to you. That's what your home does to you. It calls you constantly to come back, but a home that has to be appealing, so that we will have the audacity, the courage, and smash our fear, so that we can be able to go and enjoy the seaside, and visit our families when they are sick, and take them to their graveyards, or we can enjoy our ceremonies and dance together where we are valued. But as far as this hypocrisy is in the Gambia, as far as this selfishness is in the country, that will be difficult even for those people in the diaspora. Even your dead body, because Jammeh refused some dead bodies, going getting into the Gambia. Who knows? It can be you. Who knows? We don't want to raise money all over the place, to send your bodies to your home, but that's the home that we need to focus. So that, and this book helps you, it will help you, but it will help you to empathize also, the victims. So I urge you, I requested you all to buy this book, and read it, and encourage you, and enrich your understanding about issues that happen in the Gambia. We will have Mr. Barrow here once again, when times allow, but Mr. Barrow, thank you so much for dignifying us. We are humble. I was very, very scared to face you here, definitely. And I remain very, very, very humble, really, and the writings, captivating, riveting, and all those things, so, and the sacrifice that you've done, and going to Gambian L, the writing that I had, I saw there, when I would normally go through it, Gambia L, Gambia Post, and then these are way of scary for me, really. But, thank God, you are here, very humble, very accessible anyway. You don't know me, you've never met me, but anytime, the speed you respond to me is really, really humbling. Compare the age group, compare the status, the hierarchy. But once again, Gunjur Online is very, 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 very grateful to have you. And I know our viewers, enjoy this, so they learn a lot, and hopefully a lot of people are asking for the book. They will go over and get this book and help the victims, and anybody can be victims, and try and say positively for the country. If the government does well, we are all proud, because I was on my knee praying to God to which we do a lot, even though sometimes the results are not forthcoming, because God gave us everything to work, not to pray all the time, so that Barrow can get it right, so that people who are like us can easily conquer and fear, and go and sit in Gunjur, and be where we belong. But it wasn't happening, and we physically, financially did everything to support him. So to criticize him doesn't mean we hate Barrow. To criticize him doesn't mean we don't like the man. We like the man, but we cannot just agree with some of the things that are happening. And I hope it change other way around. Mr. Barrow, your final word to our viewers all over the place, and we can leave it here until next time. It's almost nearly 2 hours now we've been here. Go ahead, bro. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no, thank you, thank you so much. I'm honored to be here, to join you on this platform. I don't see these things as some kind of favor to anyone. This is a duty on me. It's a responsibility on me, and for you to afford me the ability to carry out that duty means a lot to me, and I truly appreciate it. I also truly appreciate everyone that has stayed online with us and listening to the program. I thank them all for taking their time to listen to all of us. You mentioned Lamin J. Dabo as your mentor. I've never met him in my life, but these are some of the people that helped shape me, from the Gambia and Gambia Post. I've never met the man. I read pretty much any writing of his that I come across, I devour. These are, I mean, of course, you don't agree with what everybody says all the time, but you see their line of thinking, and even though I've never met him, but I consider myself a student of his as well. I am honored to see that you call him your mentor. So I would say give him my greetings. And I want to also extend my greetings to everyone that is watching, but also everyone from the great community of Gunjur. I wanted to go and meet some family members there on my last trip. Unfortunately, a brother of mine, Omar Barrow, and I had a miscommunication, and I could not go to meet the elders. But that's something that I plan to do when next time I go back home to the Gambia. Like you said, these are not things that I do for myself. I am not into politics. I don't hate Adama Barrow. I actually found out that we are relatives, maybe a little bit distant relatives, but we are family. So it's not anything personal against him. I'm not looking for anything in this. The reason I'm giving whatever I get out of this book to the victims is because I feel it belongs to them. It doesn't belong to me. I wrote their story. Yes, I had a little bit of myself in the book, but the book is not about me. It's about what happened in the Gambia, and ways that I think that we all need to look in the mirror and correct it, such that we have a better place for all of us today, but also for our unborn children, for all of you that also want to go back home. If things were right in Gambia, I would be sitting in the Gambia today, and working there as well. That was my dream. That's what I wanted to do. Unfortunately, I don't see myself being able to do that at this time, and so I had to leave. But once again, I really, really appreciate the opportunity. And yes, let me know the next time you want to sit down. I commend you, because I can definitely tell that you read the book from cover to cover, given the questions and some of the issues that you highlighted. But like you said, it's 26 chapters, over 300 pages. It's a lot to cover in 2 hours, and I tend to be a little bit talkative. So you will put all those things together, it becomes a marathon conversation. And but I truly appreciate you, Mr. Janneh, and I really appreciate all the listeners and people watching and the community of Gunjur. To them, I extend my warm greetings. Again, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, my brother. Greetings to our boss Lamin Jammeh, who has been behind the scene for us just from work, and he's doing a marathon day again. And thanks to all our greetings. Have a very good night. Once again, greetings to you, Mr. Barrow, and to the family. Excuse to I'm sorry to the madam also. Thank you so much. Thank you to the kids.